All right, everybody, we're back with Erik Germ of HugeFrigginArms.com. Thanks for coming into the studio, Erik.
Good to be here, Matt.
Now, you run the website HugeFrigginArms.com, which I don't know if my listeners really know. It's still kind of I wouldn't say it's a new site, but it's still kind of an underground site. People find it, and people who find it seem to like it, but it's not, ads all over the place. It's definitely not crack.com, although it certainly could be with the content quality.
It's kind of a side thing. I opened it up years ago and bought the domain and then never really did anything with it. And just now I realized I'm paying for this domain every month and I should probably do something with the site. So more to come in the upcoming months, but for now it's what you see is what you get.
Now, you just recently got me into Star Trek because of an article that you had posted on the site a couple weeks ago about Twilight and vampires.
Right.
Brilliant article. Like I said, some of these articles are cracked-worthy. And I mean, did you even try submitting that to Cracked or?
No, I don't know how. There's a whole process you got to go through, and
if you listen to the episode 2, Michael Swaim tells you how to do it the simplest way.
Oh, cool!
And you get $50 if they print it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
I actually wouldn't submit in mine. There's an article on the site. Steph Germ, who is my wife, was watching television one day, USA Network, and found that all these shows simply just run together. They're all pretty much the same show. And there's one coming out called Fairly Legal. So she thought of one that wasn't like the others and created something called Barely Legal. And it's basically a screenplay of her running into the USA office and pitching this show. That would probably be that's probably the best article we have on the site. That's the one I would pitch to anybody.
Now, can anybody send articles in to be on Huge
I
Frickin'
encourage
Arms?
people to send articles because I promised myself I'd do one at least 3 times a week, and it's dwindled down to maybe once every 2 weeks. So if anybody does want to write for the site, just go to Huge Friggin' Arms, and you can find the contact information there.
Now, it's not just articles on the site. Also, there's animation, there's comics, all types of videos. What exactly would you, if you had to label yourself as one thing that you prefer doing above all, what would it be?
Probably animation, even though I'm not very good at it. When the site originally started, I bought the domain back in 2003 when I was still in high school. I didn't know how to use Flash, so everything was all video edited. And once out of high school, I learned Flash. I started submitting to albinoblacksheep.com, newgrounds.com, had numerous Flash animations stolen by jokeroo.com, who can go fuck themselves. And so I did that for a while, and then, just kind of stopped once I started working full-time. I still try and animate here and there.
Now, what happened with the Joe Guru thing?
Jokeroo.com is a website that used to lurk the albino black sheep links and submission forum, which aspiring Flash artists would try to get their Flash animations put on albino black sheep's very selective main page. And what Jokeroo would do would find the Flash animations that people submitted that maybe weren't on the site yet, take them and put them on their own site without crediting the author, kind of like E-Bomb's World used to do.
Yeah.
Well, they took one of mine called The Ugliest Snowman and put it as a holiday e-card on their site. I went to their forums to ask them to take it down, and their forum base basically made fun of me. And then the owner of the site came into the forums and kind of joked around with them and told me that I had to prove that I owned it. So I went behind their backs, found out who their web server was, went to them and told them that they're putting stolen content on the site. As soon as I mentioned that, I got emails flooded in. Hey, we'll take the thing off. We'll pay you for it. But Jokeroo can eat shit.
Now, for the listeners from Philly that listen in on the show, they might know you also from your work with Preston and Steve. How did you get hooked up with them?
I was listening to their promos that they play during WMMR. They take little clips from the show earlier in the day and play them to advertise Preston and Steve. And they did one about holiday tipping, and if you should tip your garbage man, if you should tip your, mailman. And Preston didn't do it. So they used all these sound effects and machine guns and stuff. So I decided to put that to animation. And I just did it, sent it in, said, hey guys, I did this for you, love the show, blah, blah, blah. Immediately got an email back saying, we watched it like 10 times, we want you to come into the studio. So I did, I went in, I did another animation for them, did another, and then they had this holiday thing that they played, Charlie Brownstein. They brought kids into the studio years ago and had them read from the script Charlie Brownstein that Steve wrote. And I undertook it upon myself to animate that, which became one of the biggest hits on my site to date, is the Charlie Brownstein Flash.
Now, what was your name when you were doing like the Newground stuff? Were you always Huge Friggin' Arms, or is there another name that some of my listeners might know you from?
I'm actually never Huge Friggin' Arms. I'm always Tasty Baby Soup. I needed a username to register on this website, and it brought me to this dead baby joke. And the punchline contains Tasty Baby Soup, so I just did that. It was allowed, and that's been my online moniker ever since.
Now, you are one of the biggest geeks I know, and that's coming from
Guilty.
myself, who considers myself a pretty big geek. The first time I ever met you was we were at the same Halloween party, and you and your wife were dressed in homemade Fairly Odd Parents costumes, which the following year I saw thousands of shitty attempts at the same costume that you guys did in like an hour.
Now, let me correct you. Award-winning shitty Fairly Odd
Oh,
Parents
that's right.
costume.
You did win the award that year for Best Costume.
I put that together in literally 1 hour the morning before, actually, because we hadn't thought of a costume yet.
And I remember I was also there as Doodle Bear.
Doodle Bear. I drew a period stain down by your crotch.
Yes, you did. I still have that shirt hanging in my closet.
With your red marker.
The Doodle Bear costume basically composed of me wearing a hat that had bear ears and a shirt and markers so people could draw on me. It was the most simplistic $10 costume I could pull out of my ass, mostly because I'd already used my favorite costume the year previously, and I didn't want to repeat myself.
Priceless memories for years to come.
The year before, though, was my favorite. I was Artie, the strongest man in the world from Pete and Pete, and I was like, I can't repeat this costume again. So
the year before, we were... I don't remember. The following year, we went as Arnold and Gerald.
Nice. See, that's the thing, is that I think we come from the same thought process of, if you're going to do a Halloween costume, you should build it yourself, just using stuff that you can find. Like, I get so annoyed when people win costume contests for shit that they bought in the store.
And slutty shit at that.
And this is like a dear friend of mine, I'm not even going to say her name, but the first costume party I ever went to, I showed up in a costume that I made myself of Kenny Fisher from Can't Hardly Wait. I had the backpack, I bought condoms, candles, loaded the backpack up with all the stuff from the movie, got the big jacket, the goggles, fucking nothing. Not a single vote.
That's horseshit.
The person who won was wearing a store-bought Lucy costume.
Lucille Ball?
Yeah.
What is this, 1947?
So like, what the fuck? And she's one of my close friends, and I still to this day give her shit. But she's the only one that admits that I should have won in that costume.
You should have gotten something for Doodle Bear.
I didn't know anybody there. They weren't going to vote for me.
Fuckers.
It's a popularity thing.
Yeah.
It always comes down to that. Now, let's not even, go visit hugefrickinarms.com. It's a great site. What is some shit that you're excited about? Keep in mind that we're doing this interview in February, and it probably won't come out until March. But as a geek, comics, movies, CDs, what shit are you just stoked is coming out?
Saw the Captain America trailer from the Super Bowl. Looks fucking badass.
The Red Skull,
that
quarter of a second clip looks great.
Pulling off his mask. I don't even. Who is that?
It's
I never looked it up.
Hugo Weaving, the guy. Yeah, the Vendetta.
Tell you what, we're on the fence on here at Huge Friggin' Arms is the upcoming Dark Tower movie adaptation.
I like that there's
I like that it's not going to be a 2-3 hour movie. I like that they're splitting it up.
Well, I like that it's just. I think it's a huge risk. I'd hate to admit this. I'm still kind of new to King. I haven't read Dark Tower yet. I'm building my way there, but I've been told the appreciation of Dark Tower is better the more that you know about his other novels, because there's so many references to it throughout it.
If I could give you one piece of information, if you haven't done it yet, read The Stand.
All right.
That is one book that you need to understand the undertaking of the Dark Tower.
All right, so I'll have to read The Stand soon. But I like that if I recall correctly, Geekscape keeps reporting that not only is it going to be a couple movies, it's going to be a couple movies with like a TV show in between. Like, that's fucking intense.
You're going to have to be a fan of the films. It's Ron Howard directing it, so it's not like they're going to do it and then lose funding and not finish it.
Yeah,
they'll finish it through whether it's good or not. But it's kind of tough. And then
won't be like Aragon.
Right. Oy.
What a piece of garbage.
But oh man, that poor movie.
And it just
tried.
It doesn't even end. It's just like, we'll see you in part 2.
And then part 2 never came. Also, there's a word of an upcoming adaptation of The Stand.
Which they recently, I think it's episode 197 of Geekscape, they sat down and talked about that. And they were even saying, like, the miniseries was missing a lot of shit from the book that pissed off fans.
6.5 hours.
So how do you do a 2-hour movie?
It's funny you should say that, because somewhere over on my bookshelf is the original screenplay of the Stand 2.5 hour movie. And I read through the entire thing, and it's garbage. If they would have made it, it would have ruined the integrity of one of the most amazing books I've ever read. If they do anything other than that, it has a chance.
All right.
But there's a supervillain in the film called Randall Flagg. He's the personification of evil, and we were talking about who we thought could be the Randall Flagg in the movie. It was Jamie Sheridan in the original miniseries, who's somebody I don't know if you've ever heard of. If anybody heard of him, it'd be you.
Yeah.
So if you didn't hear of him, then
no one has.
Yes. And he wasn't very good. So you have to pick somebody who looks like an everyman, but can be pure fucking evil.
Yeah.
And I thought if Hugo Weaving was a little younger, he could pull it off. We're also thinking Cillian Murphy could make a good Randall Flagg.
Nice.
This is more for anybody listening to agree with.
Well, you should. Geekscape did it, and I know on Smodcasts, on the Smodcast network, they have a show called Bagged and Boarded. Also did it, but a lot of websites have been doing their cast the Stand movie list. I think that is an endeavor for Huge Frickin' Arms if there ever was one.
I think myself and staff writer Beatrix Kiddo should collaborate on that, because it's got to be done right, or else it's going to.
And how many other times a year do you really get such a giant ensemble movie that you already know the information that you can sit down? I mean, it's only like this, or like an Avengers movie where you're like, okay, I can cast this movie because I know these characters.
Right, and it's not even just picking characters; it's picking director. It's picking, it's The Stand is a post-apocalyptic movie.
Last question, because we're running short on time. Because I've got a very big guest next, I want to make sure I have plenty of time for him.
Absolutely.
But what do you think about the current rumor? And again, this is early February that we're recording this, so by March this could be completely debunked by now. But about Shane Black possibly directing and writing Iron Man 3.
After Iron Man 2, I'd say anybody who can give it a fresh new twist is something I can get on board with.
And Shane Black has written and directed one of my all-time favorite movies. He did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr., which is still one of the most incredibly well-written movies I've ever seen.
And underrated.
Very underrated. Anybody who's never seen it that's listening, you should throw it on your Netflix queue or just buy it, because you're going to want to watch it again and again and again after you see it.
If they're going to do Mandarin, I would say you need somebody with fresh new ideas to
Fair enough.
to do it, because that's got to be something you display on the actor's face rather than have somebody playing Mandarin.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, Eric.
Matt, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
I hope to have you back someday. Have a good one, sir.
Thank you, sir.